This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, so in the last class we discussed about Informatica Power Center. We started like creating a mapping session workflow and all, right? So first we started with creating the table, and then we have inserted a few records inside the source table, then created the target table. There we have not inserted any records, and then after creating the source and target tables, we followed 6 steps. First, to import the source definition. Okay, so we have connected to the repository. We have opened the designer tool. After opening the designer tool, and then uh, we have connected to the repository, and then we have opened the folder. So to open the folder, okay, right click open, right, and then after opening this folder, first we went to this source analyzer. Here we have imported the source definition. Then second step, target designer. Here we have to import the target definition. Third step, go to the mapping designer, and from here we'll create a mapping. After giving the name to the mapping, to drag and drop the source definition, and then target definition. Between, after drag and dropping the source and target definition, along with the source definition we will get the source qualifier transformation, and then from source qualifier we have to connect to the target definition. Like this, we have to give the links between source qualifier to the target definition. Okay, after that, to perform the fourth step, we have opened the Power Center Workflow Manager, and then we went to this Task Developer tab. Here we created the session task. Inside the session task, we have given the source and target database connections, and then we went to Workflow Designer. So here we have created the workflow, right? And then after giving the name to the workflow, from the sessions folder, we have drag and drop to the session task. Okay, and we have given the link and we have executed. Okay, so like that, this is the process which we followed in the last class, and I have asked you to create similar mappings by giving the names like S2, EMPS2 and EMPS3, like that. Okay, so few of you have created the mappings, and I have requested everyone to share the screenshots. So few of you have shared the screenshots, and still many of you have not started practicing. Okay, so whoever have not created the mappings, please try to complete as soon as possible, because without practice, understanding the class, it would be difficult. So if you don't practice day by day, it will become difficult. So whatever the scenarios I am giving for the day, 100% any cost you have to complete on same day. There is no excuse. So if you are busy with your daily activities on your daytime, you have whole night to practice. Okay, so you should have to complete given the scenarios on the same day. There is no excuse. Okay, so if you are not able to practice, it's waste of attending the training. Okay, so because you will feel the difficulty, you will not be able to understand, right? So if you practice, you will feel more easy, right? And you will understand very easily. Okay, so that is the reason this practice is very, very important. You are not going to join as a fresher, you will be joining as experience. Okay, the more you practice, you will get more confidence, and you can be able to remember for a long time just by listening the theory. Okay, without practical, you will not be able to remember for a long time, right? So please understand, and please try to practice as much as possible. Okay, fine. And also every day you should have to update me whatever you have created, whether you have done or not, right? So that I'll also come to know where you are, like whether you are able to follow, or do you want me to if you need any help, you can also contact me anytime. I'm ready to help, right? Okay, so keep that in mind. Please do the practice. So this is not, programming language. This is a tool, so it would be easy to learn. So initial basics, if you learn easily, then in real time, it doesn't matter if you have millions of records. Also, we will be creating this. We will be following the same 6 steps. First, we will import the source definition, target definition, create mapping, session workflow. So here we are doing this example on 3 columns on 5 rows or 6 rows like that. Okay, so in real time also, same mapping, same session, same workflow will be creating. The difference is here we have 3 records or 5 records. There you will have 5 million records or 10 million records you have. Doesn't matter you have 5 records or 5 million records. So for 5 million records also we will create the same mapping. We will execute. As soon as we start execution of this workflow will extract all the 5 million records from the source, transform, and it will load 5 million records into the target. There is no change. Same process we have to follow. If you understand the process, then doesn't matter how many columns and how many rows are there in a table, but you have to understand the process. When you will be able to understand the process means if you practice every day whatever scenarios I am giving without fail, then you will be able to understand very easily. Okay, so I am ready to help you 24/7. So whenever you are available, whenever you practice, you just create a mapping, whatever you if you are not getting, you take the screenshot and send me in WhatsApp. As soon as I check, I'll reply to you. Okay, but you should not give any reason that I have not completed. There is no excuse. Okay, so if you are busy with your daytime, you have whole night, so you can practice. So it will not take much, 2 or 3 hours, right? In night time you can sit for 2 3 hours and to complete these scenarios whatever I'm giving. Okay, so please try to complete. And I'm asking you to do the practice for this month. So during the training, if you practice, you will learn easily, right? Okay, so that's it. So again, I'm not going to tell all these things. So please keep it in mind and do the practice. Fine. Now, and also as I told you in the last class, okay, so if you are not able to connect to the repository, right? And if you are not able to log in, whatever the error you are getting in Informatica, to connect to the repository or to open the Informatica administrator homepage, in the last class I have shown you, right? So what you have to do, you have to go to the services. Okay, so here in the search box, okay, type services. So whatever the error you are getting, doesn't matter whether you are getting the invalid user or not, like a domain configuration error or any other what you are getting. And if you are not able to log into the Informatica administrator page also, first step always you have to go to the services and see whether the Informatica service is running or not, right? So here in the search box you type services. Okay, so left side next to the Windows button, you have the service, you have the search box. So you type the services. As soon as you type the services, the first option here you can see services desktop app you will get, right? You have to click on that services desktop app. Okay, so in search box, if you type services, the first option you will get services desktop app. So if you open that, now you can able to see the services, right? So there are so many services here. Okay, so from here we have to go to the Informatica service. To go to the Informatica service, select any one of the service here, press I in your keyboard. As soon as you press I, it will take you to the service name starts with I. Okay, here we can see the second one in I, Informatica 10.2 service. So what you have to do, corresponding to this service, under status you have to see what is the status of this service. Is it running or not? In my system currently it is running. Okay, so if it is I mean, like sometimes if you are getting the error means the Informatica service will not be running. Okay, so every time we have to check this services, Informatica service, whether it is running or not. Okay, now for example, let's say this is an example. Now here we have another service here. Is this service running or not? No, this is not running. How we will come to know whether it is running or not? Under the status you can see, do we have here the status as running? No. here we have blank. Blank means that is not running, right? So since this is not running, to start the service we have to right click. If you right click, you will get the start option here. So if you click on start option, then that service will run. In the same way for Informatica also, you just have, if it is not running here, then just have to right click and select the start option so that the Informatica service will start. Okay, so and you can see the status as running here, right? So once the Informatica service has started running, then you have to wait for 5 minutes. Okay, because it will take time to log into the Informatica administrator. Okay, so administrator only one time to create a repository and integration service during the installation only we log into the administrator homepage. Every day, every time, it is not required to log into the Informatica administrator homepage. Okay, only for the first time during the installation, we will log into the Informatica administrator homepage to create a repository service and integration service. Okay, but here also while connecting to the repository, okay, so if you right click and connect, if you are getting any message, okay, so you just have to right click, check Informatica service is running or not. If it is not running, right click start. Okay, so once you have started the Informatica service, you have to wait for 5 minutes. After 5 minutes, right click on Informatica service, select the refresh option now. After 5 minutes, select refresh. If you click on refresh, still the service should be running. So after 5 minutes, if you right click and refresh, still the Informatica service is running. Now go and try to connect to the repository or try to open the Informatica administrator if you want. Okay, so those activities you can perform. After 5 minutes, when you restart the Informatica service, still if you like after 5 minutes, if you right click and restart refresh the Informatica service, after 5 minutes, when you select the refresh option, okay, you found that Informatica service is not running. You have started 5 minutes back, okay, waited for 5 minutes. After 5 minutes, you have right click and refresh option. When you select the refresh option, this Informatica service, you found that it has stopped. It is not running. Now it is showing as blank. Okay, even after you start, waited for 5 minutes, when you refresh, that time Informatica service has stopped. So when Informatica service will stop automatically, even though if we start the Informatica service, means if the Oracle service is not running, okay, if the Oracle service is not running, even though you start Informatica service, it will stop automatically. Remember, when Informatica service will stop automatically means if the Oracle service is not running. Oracle service, to see whether it is running or not, so press O button in your keyboard so that it will take you to the service name starts with O, and here you have to see Oracle service XE and Oracle XE TNS listener. Oracle service XE and Oracle service TNS listener, these two are the Oracle services, and these two services always should be running. Okay, so in these two services, in these two services, if any one of the service is not running, first of all, you will not be able to connect to the database by using the system user. Here itself, you will get the error. In these two services, if any one of the service is not running, then here itself you will get the error. You will not be able to connect to the database. Okay, and if any one of the service is not running in these two, even though if you start Informatica service, it will stop automatically after 5 minutes. So if Informatica service is stopping automatically after 5 minutes, you have to go and check whether the Oracle service is running or not. Okay, so if any one of this Oracle Service XE or Oracle TNS XE TNS listener is not running, here if you see the status as blank, then you have to right click and start the service. Once you start and once you see these two are running, then now go to the Informatica. Now you start the Informatica service. Okay, if the Informatica service is stopped automatically, you have to go and check whether the Oracle service is running or not. If the Oracle services are any one of the Oracle services not running, then go to this start the Oracle service. Once both services are running, go to the Informatica service, start and wait for 5 minutes. After 5 minutes, select the refresh option. Now 100% the service will be running. Okay, so this time you will not get any error. It will not stop automatically. If the Oracle services are not, if the Oracle services are running, then Informatica service will not stop. It will be running. If you see Informatica service is running, then 100% it will allow you to connect to the repository, and you will be able to log into the Informatica administrator homepage, and you will be able to create the repository and integration service. Got it? So that's how you have to verify the services. Okay, so before you connect to the repository, make sure to see whether the Informatica service is running or not. Okay, so but in real time, you no need to verify these services. Real time 100% the services will be running 24/7, and if the service is not running and if you are not able to connect to the repository, then there will be a separate team, Informatica admin team will be there. It's Informatica admin team's responsibility to start the services. If the services are not running, they will take care. We no need to worry. Okay, but here in our local machine, since we have installed both Informatica server software and client software in the same machine, so we only have to take care to see whether the Informatica service is running or not. But in real time, whatever the system they are going to allocate to you, that system or that laptop will have only Informatica client software. That system will not have the server software. Server software, Informatica server software will be installed in some other machine, like Unix operating system. There the Informatica server will be installed by the Informatica admin team. And whatever the system they are going to allocate it to you, from in that system you will have the Informatica client tools, Power Center, Designer, Workflow Manager, Workflow Monitor, like that. So from the Informatica client tool, the way how we have configured the repository, right? During the installation, we have opened the repository manager tool, and there we have performed these 3 steps: adding the repository, configuring the domain, right? So this is Power Center repository manager, adding the repository, configuring the domain. So this configure domain here, we will be establishing the connection between client and server. Okay, so this is also only for the first time we do. That's it. Every time we are not going to do, so that from client tool it will be establishing the connection to the server. Fine. Next. So like that, please check the services before you connect to the repository or anything. If you are getting any error message, if you are facing the difficulty to connect, please first check whether the Informatica service is running or not. If the Informatica service is getting stopped automatically, please check whether Oracle both the services are running or not. Remember these 3 services: Informatica, Oracle Service XE, Oracle XE TNS Listener. So always you have to see these 3. So out of these 3 also, always we have to start only Informatica service. Even after starting, still if you are facing the difficulty, then you should have to you should have to check the Oracle services. That's it. Okay, fine. Next. So next, today we'll start with source qualifier transformation, right? So in the last class we created the mapping, we extracted all the records from the source, and we have loaded all the records into the target table. Now in today's session we will understand about the source qualifier. What is this source qualifier? Why we have got the source qualifier transformation? We call this as a transformation. This is a source definition and this is target definition, right side. Whereas here in between source and target definition, we have source qualifier transformation. Okay, so now we'll discuss the properties of the source qualifier transformation. So for that, first to understand the source qualifier properties, first what we will do is we will create a source table. As I told you, for any scenario, first we should be ready with the source and target table. So now from today onwards, I am not going to show you how to create a table. Okay, because in the last class I have shown you creating the multiple table source and target and inserting records. From now onwards, I have already created the tables in my system. I will just write a select statement to show you the source table. EMP underscore S1. Okay, so for this scenario, you can give the table name as EMP underscore SQ. SQ means source qualifier. For source qualifier properties, I am going to use this table. Okay, so you have to create a table with the name EMP underscore SQ underscore S1. S1 is the first scenario in source qualifier transformation, like that. So you also have to give the same name while creating the table, right? You know how to create a table, create table name, this EMPSQS1, and you have to give the same column names. So here in this table to create, so you have to see here what column names I have in employee number, employee name, salary, right? You know how to create a table. After creating the table, you have to insert the rows like this in that table, multiple rows. Okay, so now if you see here, first we have 10, 20, 30. Again, fourth row, same employee number, same employee name as it is, right? To get the same row as it is, whatever we have inserted, what we have to do, we have to execute the insert statement 2 times. Okay, same insert statement you have to execute 2 times. And the same way, again, if you want to insert the same record, you have to execute the insert statement 2 times. Again, like that, you can insert same insert statement multiple times so that the same record will get inserted. So if you have records like this, okay, again and again with the same copy, if you have, these are called duplicate records, right? These are called duplicate records. Can you tell me, here we have a table, there are, in this table we have total 7 rows are there. Out of 7 rows, how many duplicate records are there? Can you tell me the count of the duplicate records from this table? How many duplicate records are there?
Four.
There are 4 duplicate records, right? So we have 4 duplicate records. Last 4 are the duplicate records. Okay, so 10 Ali 10,000 we have. Again the same copy if you have, then we can call this as a duplicate record. Okay, so in the same way, we have 20 Ravi here. Again, if you have the 20 Ravi, so this is also duplicate record. All the column values should be same. Okay, so all the column values, employee number, employee name, salary, if all the 3 column values are same, then we call it as a duplicate record. Okay, suppose let's say here we have 20 Ravi 20,000, whereas here we have 20 Ravi 30,000 we have. So if salary is different, okay, we have the same employee number, same employee name, and the salary is different. In that case, can we call that as a duplicate record? No, we cannot call that as a duplicate record. Duplicate record means all the 3 column values should be same. Then only we can call that as a duplicate record. Okay, so in this table, we have total 7 records. Out of 7 records, we have 4 duplicate records. And how many distinct records we have? Distinct means unique. How many unique records we have here?
Only one.
How many distinct records?
3 records.
3.
So we have 3 distinct records. We have 3 distinct records. Got it? Okay, so out of 7, 3 distinct. These are the unique records. First 3 are the unique records or distinct records. In the previous class, whatever the records are there in the source, we have loaded all the records from source to target. Now we are not going to load all the records. So this is our source table, and insert some duplicate records like the same as it is. Duplicate records you have to insert in your source table. To insert the duplicate records, same insert statement you have to execute multiple times, 2 times or 3 times. If you execute, same record will be inserted again and again. Okay, now create a target table with this name T1. So I'm not going to show you how to create a target table because I've already showed you. Same way you have to create a target and do not insert any records. Got it? So create a source table, target table, and insert few records in the source table. Now what is the requirement here? While loading the data from source to target, we don't want to load all the 7 records. We have to extract only distinct records from the source table. We don't want to duplicate records. We want only unique records. Only those unique records we have to load into the target table. So after successful of the execution, how many records we are expecting to load into the target table? How many records we are expecting here in the target?
3.
3, right? So 3 are the distinct records. We are expecting those 3. That's the requirement. Okay, so from now onwards, for every scenario, before we start creating the mapping, you have to understand the requirement first clearly. So what is our requirement? What we are going to implement here, and what output we are going to expect here, right? These things we should have to know before we start implementing the mapping. Fine. Now the source and target tables are ready. We are going to perform those 6 steps to create a mapping and to load the distinct records, right? Okay, first what we have to do. So before creating the mapping, so how we are going to extract the distinct records? So if you are going to perform all the 6 steps, it will extract all the records from the source and all the records will load into the target table. Okay. Fine. So now we'll start creating the mapping and then we will see. So first, after creating the source and target, now we'll go here and source analyzer. First, we have to clear the workspace, clear all. Go to the menu sources, import from database. Again, we no need to create the ODBC data source. We have already created system like training underscore dev, and just enter the table name and enter the password. Then connect. So like that, this is the first step which we are going to import the source definition. Then we have imported the source definition, and then second step we have to import the target definition. Clear all. Here we have to import the target definition. Okay, so select the target definition, copy, and go here, menu, import a target definition, import from the database. Okay, and then here you have to enter the target definition name, target table name, and then password, connect. Like that, we have to import the target definition. This is our second step. Imported. Now the third step, create a mapping. You cannot clear the mapping. To start creating the mapping, just go to the menu, mappings, create, m underscore emp sq, okay, s1 to t1 load. Like that's a meaningful name we can give, and click on OK. After that, open the sources folder. From here we have to select the source definition, whichever the source definition we have imported, that we have to select, drag and drop, and open the targets folder. Select the target definition, drag and drop, and then we have to give the links like this. Okay, so with this we have created the mapping. So this mapping we have created same as last class mapping, but now, so we here the reader should extract only distinct records. For that, we have the SQL query. To select the distinct records from a table, we have to write a query like this: select distinct star means all the columns from table name. What is our table name? EMPSQS1. This is our table name. So if we are going to execute this query, then this query will select only the distinct records from this table EMPSQS1. Now you can see from this table, whatever the table we have our source table. So in that table we have total 7 records. And now here in the after select in the same query, I have written the distinct keyword. We call it as a keyword, distinct keyword I have used. So if I use the distinct keyword, now we have got the distinct records or not? Is this the records what we are expecting to load into the target? Yes, right. This is the result. This result only we are expecting to load into the target. These are the distinct records. Okay. Now, whatever the query here we have to select the distinct records. So this query result only we have to load into the target table. Okay. So since we have a query here and this query returns the distinct records and we are expecting to load these three records only to be loaded in this target table. Okay, so for that, inside the mapping, inside the source qualifier transformation, we have a property to write the SQL query. Okay, so right click, edit, select the source qualifier transformation, right click on the source qualifier and click on edit. So if you click on edit, here we have got edited transformations window and there are multiple tabs here. We call these are the tabs. First tab we have transformation, we have the transformation name and we have a description here. If you want to write any description about this transformation, what it is going to do, you can write the description, otherwise do as it is. Click on the second tab. Second tab we have the tab name called ports and you can see here port name we have employee number, employee name, salary. These are the column names, right? In SQL developer or at the database level, we call these are the column names. But in Informatica, under the transformations, we have to call these are the ports. Remember, port means column name. So ports, we have to use the same terminology. In Informatica under transformation, when we are talking the employee number, we have to say employee number port. We should not say employee number column, right? So in the SQL developer or the database level, when you are talking, you have to say employee number column. Whereas here in Informatica, you have to call this as a employee number port, employee name port, salary port. So like that, we have to call these are the ports. Okay, next we have the data type. If you see here, for employee number, data type is a double. While creating the table, we have given the data type as a number. So in the source and target definition, whatever the data types we have given while creating the table, you can see the same data type number, right? Whereas in transformation, it will convert that number to a double. So wherever the number data types are there, it will convert to the double. And for the character data type, it will give as n string. By default, it will take, we no need to change. Okay, so corresponding data type for the number is double. So corresponding data type of the character or varchar or n varchar data type is n string, and for the salary also number data type, it will take double. And we have a precision. So whatever the precision we have given, okay, so for employee name, while creating the employee name, we have given the precision as 10. That's the reason it is showing 10. For the employee number and the salary, we will not give any precision. We'll just write a number data type. That's it. That's the reason we do not have anything here. And next we have a scale. Scale means, suppose let's say there is a amount column. In amount column, sometimes we'll have the decimal values also. Okay, suppose for example, let's say we have a like a 100.123, three decimal values are there. While loading the data amount column from source to target, I want to load only after a decimal point 2 digits, like 100.12. I don't want 3. Then you have to give scale as 2. So if there are any decimal values, so if you want to load only 2 digits after a decimal point, then we have to give the scale as 2. Then it will load only 2 digits after a decimal point. That is scale. Next we have IO. I means input port. O means output port. Okay, so by default you can see for all these ports, input and output both are enabled, right? Both checkboxes are enabled. Okay, so if input is enabled means it will get the data from previous transformation. If output also enabled means that port is ready to send the data or a value to the next transformation.
Okay, so all these things by default it will be there. We no need to change it. We just have to know what all these are. Next, third tab. Third tab, if you go, okay, right. So in third tab we have here properties. In properties tab, the first property you can see SQL query, right? So right side we have a value field. If you click on down arrow, you will get the SQL editor here. See, this is the SQL editor. So here we can write the SQL query, right? In SQL editor, it will allow us to write the SQL queries. Okay. So remember, if there is no query inside the source qualifier transformation under SQL query, then it will extract all the records from the source. But now I don't want all the records. I want to select only distinct records. For that, we have a SQL query. I will copy or I will write the query here inside the SQL query. Like that, we can write the SQL queries in Informatica tool. Okay, so what is the query to select the distinct records? Select a distinct star from table name. If you write this query will select all the like this query will select only distinct records from the source, and whatever the records written by this query, only those records will be loaded into the target. And now after writing the query, we just have to validate the query whether this query is valid or not. Okay, so ODBC data source we have already created training underscore dev, that we have to select username system, password system, and then validate. So if you validate, what it will do is it will connect to this database and it will go to the system schema. There it will check whether this table exists or not, EMP-SQS1, right? So if the table does not exist, then it will display invalid query. Okay, so let me write here EMP-SQ1. Okay, so like that, if I write the invalid table name, if I validate, then it will display invalid query. Why this is invalid? That message it will display bottom of this tool, Oracle wire protocol driver error. And let me show you one thing. So here it will display. Okay, so if I have that one, now you can see validate invalid query, and you can see here is the error message bottom of this tool, table or view does not exist. So that means the table, whatever the table we have written, that table does not exist. Like that, we have to read the error message. By reading this error message, we will come to know like what is this error, why it has failed the execution. Okay, so like that, after writing the query, we have to validate whether the query is valid or not. So it will connect to the database, it will check whether that query is the table exists or not. Click on OK. So like that, to select the distinct record from the source, we have to write a query inside the source qualifier transformation under properties SQL query, so that this will select the first, it will check is there any query. If there is a query, then it will execute the query, and reader, what it will do, whatever the records written by this query, only those records it will pass to the writer. Now writer will write only those records into the target table. That's it. Apply. Okay. So now we have a query inside the source qualifier transformation. Go to the menu repository. Now this is valid. Okay. Next step. We have done with the third step. So in this mapping, newly we have added the query inside the source qualifier transformation. Then just right click clear all. Okay, go to the task, create, and session task name smallest underscore, and we have to give the mapping name. So to give the mapping name, go to the menu mappings, edit, copy the mapping name from here, and then we'll go and give the name here, create, and from this list we have to select the specific mapping for which mapping we are creating the session. This is the mapping, specific mapping we have to select. Click on OK, done. And connections, every time you no need to give, automatically it will take the connections from the previous mapping. If there is any change, it will take the we have to give the new connection. Otherwise, no need to create, no need to give, automatically it will take. Just go and create a workflow. Connections only for the first time, every time it is not required. If there is any change, then only we have to give the connection. Otherwise it will give by default the connections. So like that, we'll give the workflow name, click on OK. So this is the session, drag and drop, task, link task, connect like this, save. Okay, with this we have done with the mapping session workflow, everything. Now start execute. In blank space, right click, start the workflow. As soon as we click on start workflow, it will start execute. We can see the status. Right click, get run properties. Now you can see the session status got succeeded. See EMP SQS1 in our table total. How many records are there? We have total 7 records. Even though there are 7 records, here we can see the count as 3 because we have a query inside the source qualifier. That query has written 3 records from the source. Okay, that's the reason it is showing the count as 3. The same number of records does loaded into the target, and target table also we can see 3 records. Now if I execute the target table query, we'll have only 3 records. See, we have 10, 20, 30. So even though if they are not in a same order, doesn't matter. We have to see only whether we have got the distinct records or not. So do we have any duplicate records in our target table now? No. So in source table, if I execute the source table query, there are total 7 records. Out of 7, we have 4 duplicate records. We have only 3 distinct records. And by using the select statement like distinct query, we have got only distinct records, and those distinct records loaded into the target. That's it. This is how we have to create a mapping to select the distinct records. Clear? Any questions here? Are you able to understand?
Yes, sir.
Perfect. Next, we'll move on to the second scenario in source qualifier. Okay. So here inside the source qualifier transformation under properties, we have written a distinct query, right? Okay. To load the distinct records from source to target table, we no need to write a distinct query. Without writing the distinct query, here if you see we have a property called selected distinct. Without writing the query to load the distinct records from source to target, just by enabling this checkbox, automatically it will take care to extract only distinct records from the source, and it will load only distinct records to the target table. Now we will see in our second scenario, instead of writing the distinct query, we'll just enable the distinct checkbox, and then we'll execute and see whether it is able to load the distinct records or not. Okay. Now first scenario over. Now we are moving to the second scenario. For the second scenario, you have to create a table like this: emp sq underscore s2 like that. And here also you insert some records like this. And if you observe here also we have duplicate records. So there are total 5 records. Out of 5 this time, how many duplicate, how many distinct are there here? Three.
2.
3.
3 what?
3 distinct records.
3 distinct records.
3 distinct records. And how many duplicates are there?
2.
2 duplicate.
We have 2 duplicate records. Okay. This time what we are going to do, from source to target table, target we have 0 records. You know how to create a source and target table, insert duplicate records. Okay, after creating source and target table, now here the requirement is, without writing the query inside the source qualifier, just by selecting the selected distinct checkbox, we are going to load the distinct records from source to target. That is the requirement. Okay. For that, I am going to create a mapping now. Once the second source and target tables are ready, now we'll go to the here first step, clear all sources, import from database, enter the source table name, connect. Same process we have to follow. Import the source definition. Second step, I will copy the target table name here, and then right click, clear all targets, import from database, and enter the target table name, connect. To copy, shortcut Control C, paste, shortcut is Control V. Select the target table name here and then click on OK. So target definition also imported. And then third one, mapping. Go to the menu, mappings, create m underscore emp sq. Okay, and then s2 t2 load. Okay, so like that we can give. We'll copy the mapping name from here. Click on OK, and then sqt2 we have to drag and drop. sqt2 drag and drop target definition. Select all and connect to here. Open the source qualifier transformation, right click edit, or you can double click. Go to the properties. This time without writing the query, here we have a selected distinctor. We will enable enable the checkbox. This is called checkbox. Okay, so we have to enable the checkbox here. Just apply, okay, and then save. So with that we have done with the mapping. Now we'll go here, task developer, right click, clear all, and then tasks create and session task name smallest underscore mapping name we have to paste, control V shortcut, create, and from this list we have to select the specific mapping for which mapping we are creating, S2T2 load. Click on OK, done. And as I told you, no need to give the connection, automatically it will take from the previous mapping, previous session. Workflows create wf underscore this one, and now here S2T2 load. So drag and drop like this, S2T2 task link task, and we have to give the link like this, save. Now it is ready to execute. Right click start workflow. As soon as we click on start workflow, now we have not written the query, so we have just enabled the distinct checkbox. So there are 5 records in the source, but it has extracted only 3 records, distinct records, and only those distinct records into the target, loaded into the target table. Now this target table will have only the distinct records. See, we have got the same 3 records. Source contains total 5, that has loaded 3 distinct records into the target. That's it. Got it. So here we have not written the query. Okay, so without writing the query, we have just enabled this distinct checkbox. So generally in real time, we'll be using this one. If there are any duplicate records in the source, if you don't want to select duplicate records, if you want to select only distinct records, then definitely we will be, we will be selecting the distinct record from the source like this by enabling that checkbox. Okay, next. Now we have to understand the difference between writing the query to select the distinct records here and when do we have to select the distinct checkbox. When we have to go for writing the distinct query, or when do we have to select the checkbox. Okay, suppose now here in my source table to select the distinct records, I have written the distinct query, right? Okay, so select a distinct star I have written. So what this will do, this will select the distinct record from the source table, and whatever the records it has written, those records load this target table in the first scenario. Okay. Now, how many columns we are selecting here? Star means all the columns, employee number, employee name, salary. Okay. Now I have a requirement that I don't want to select all the columns. I want to select only employee number and employee name from the source table. Distinct employee number and employee name. To select the specific columns from the source, in the select statement after a distinct, we have to write employee number, employee name like this. Specific columns you have to write. Now if I execute this query, it will display only employee number and employee name. It will not display the salary. Star means it displays all the columns from the table. If you don't want to select all the columns, if you want to select only the specific columns like employee number, employee name, then you have to write a query like this. Okay, so if you enable the checkbox here, can we select the specific columns by enabling the checkbox? So this checkbox, what it will do, how many columns it will do, the distinct on how many columns. If we enable the checkbox, it will do the distinct on how many columns in the source table.
Three columns.
All the three columns, right?
Yes.
So we should have to say all the columns. It will select all the columns and it will do the distinct on all the columns. If you don't want to do the distinct on all the columns, I want to do the distinct on the specific columns on a table, then in that scenario, tell me, do we have to enable this checkbox or do we have to write a distinct query like by selecting the specific column like this? What do we have to do?
You have to
You have to write a query.
Query.
Got perfect, that's it. Okay, remember the difference. When do we have to write the distinct query or when do we have to select the distinct checkbox means? So if you have a requirement to do the distinct on all the columns in a table, then instead of writing the query, you can enable the distinct checkbox so that it will do the distinct on all the columns. Okay, so if customer or client says or your team lead says, or if you have a requirement that don't select all the columns, okay, so you have to select only this specific columns, then you should not use the distinct checkbox. You should have to write a query, select a distinct, and whatever the columns you want to select from the table, you have to write all those columns from table name like that. Got it, the difference? When do we have to write a query to select the distinct records and when do we have to enable the checkbox? Okay, so checkbox we have to select if you want to do the distinct on all the columns. Query when we have to write if you want to write select the specific records, specific columns from the source table, then we have to write the select distinct query. That's it. Next, we will move on to the next scenario. Now here, not only distinct, suppose let's say I want to extract the records where salary greater than 10,000. Now we have a source table like this. So here the requirement is I want to load the records where salary greater than or equal to 10,000, something like that. Not only distinct, we can write any SQL query inside the source qualifier under SQL query property like this. Now the third scenario, create the source table emp sq s3 and then create a target table, and here also you insert some records like this. Multiple times you insert the same records t3 and target table. We do not have any records here. Now the requirement here is while loading the data from source to target table, we have to load where salary greater than 10,000, greater than or equal to 10,000 or greater than 10,000 or greater than 20,000. Then so if you want to select the specific records, you have to write a query like this: select star from emp sqs3 where, okay, salary greater than, this is called greater than space greater than, okay, 20,000. So greater than 20,000, right? So I have a requirement to select the records where greater than 20,000. Then in that case you have to write after table, you have to write where salary greater than 20,000. Now can you tell me how many records are there in this table where salary greater than 20,000? How many rows are there? This condition will satisfy for how many rows?
Two rows.
Two rows.
How many?
Two rows. Two
Two
rows.
rows.
Any other answer? See carefully how many records are there. Salary greater than 20,000. Do we have only two records?
Four records.
Four records are there, not three. There are four records, right? So you can see here we have, this is salary greater than 20,000. Last two we have, right? Okay, how many are there? Salary greater than 20,000. We have four records. Okay, so now this is the requirement, right? So these four records we have to put into the target table. For that, I'm going to create a mapping now. So for our source and target tables are ready. So first import the source definition, connect. So greater than, less than, greater than or equal to, less than and equal to, all these operators you should know what is meant by greater than, what is less than. In school days we will learn all those things, right? Greater than, less than.
and then target. Second step, we have to import the target definition. Third step, we'll create a mapping. So this is the mapping, and then drag and drop the source definition, drag and drop the target definition. We'll connect like this and open the source qualifier, go to the properties. Here we have to write this query. So instead of writing here directly also you can write, but just for practice purpose you can write the query here first and then you can copy paste. Just validate to see whether the query is valid or not, no errors. Now this query will extract the records from this table where salary greater than 20,000. So the requirement is like that. So they have asked us to load the records where salary greater than 20,000. So for that we have written the SQL select statement. Select statement will select the records where salary greater than 20,000. Now from here we will copy the mapping name. This is the mapping. So I am doing the same steps whatever we have done. So if you create one or two mappings, as I told you, these steps you will be familiar. And now this is 3D3 task, link task, connect like this, save. Now it is ready to execute. As soon as I start execute, there are total 8 records in our source table. So if you double click on the session task, you will get the corresponding. You can see that we have got 4 records. What are those 4 records? In the target table, we have, you can see 30, 40,000, 30,000, 40,000 like that. So we have got the records where salary greater than 20,000. Got it? So like that, we can write a query inside the source qualifier transformation if you want to select the specific rows from the source table. Not only distinct, depends on our requirement. We can write a where the condition so that only those records will be extracted from the source and it will be loaded into the target table. So this is our third scenario. Okay, so now the last fourth scenario we'll discuss for the day. So fourth scenario is, so the same source qualifier transformation. Here I have 4 scenarios. First one, loading the distinct records we have done, loading the specific records from the source, salary greater than 20,000 we have written, and then distinct checkbox also done. This is also done. Now fourth one, fourth scenario, here we have there are 3 requirements at a time. Fourth scenario, we have to implement 3 requirements, right? These 3 are the requirements. Okay, so we have a source table. This is our source table and this is the target table. If you see target table also, already we have some records in the target table, right? So you have to create source and target table like this. For the fourth scenario, okay, S4, table name is S4, and insert few records in the source table with the duplicate records like this. Okay, and then target table T4. T4 also you insert some 2 records, 2 or 3 records, some dummy records. Okay, so target table also you insert few records like this. Now what is the requirement? So first point, if you read here, the first point here we have before loading the data into the target table. So first one is before loading the source data into the target table, we have to truncate and load. Truncate means, what is meant by truncate? Truncate is for to delete the whole table data permanently. In the target table, let's say someone by mistake they have inserted some dummy records or incorrect records in the target table. Now I don't want those incorrect records. I want to truncate the target table, right? That is our first requirement. First we have to truncate the target table and then we have to extract the data from the source and load the records into the target table. Now the second point here, second requirement. So we don't want to extract all the records from the source. We want to load only distinct records from source to target table. Second point is from the source we have to select and load the distinct records. Okay, so we know how to extract the distinct records. Third point, after loading the distinct records from source to target, we have to check each and every employee salary in the target table. If it is less than or equal to 200, then we have to add 100 to their current salary, else we have to leave the same salary. These three are the requirements we have to implement in a single mapping. Okay, so here inside the source qualifier transformation, if you open, go to the properties tab to write the SQL query. Not only we have this SQL query property, if you see here we have pre-SQL and post-SQL, right? So pre-SQL side, right side, if you click on down arrow, you will get the here also SQL editor. Here also you can write the SQL query. Post-SQL, we have post-SQL. If you click on here, you will get another SQL editor to write the SQL query. Like that, we have total 3 properties inside the source qualifier transformation to write the SQL queries. SQL query is one property, pre-SQL is one property, post-SQL is another property. Okay, so even though we have 3 properties to write the SQL query, first which query will execute, whether it will execute the SQL query or pre-SQL or post-SQL, and then second which query will execute, third which query will execute, means always it will give the first priority to the pre-SQL. Okay, so always as soon as we start execution of any mapping, okay, first reader, it will go and check inside the source qualified transformation properties. First it will go to the pre-SQL property. Is there any query written inside the pre-SQL? If there is a query written inside the pre-SQL, that query will execute first. Always the first priority it gives to the pre-SQL. Okay, now the first what is our first requirement? We have to truncate the target table. For that, inside the pre-SQL, we have to write a query like this: truncate table name. Remember, truncate is one of the SQL DDL command. DDL means data definition language command. So truncate is for to truncate whole table data permanently. All the records we want to delete from the table. Okay, then we have to write truncate table name. So beginning of the execution, at the beginning of the execution, first step truncate table query will execute. It will delete all the records from the target table, right? And next, after deleting, we have to select the distinct records. Okay, the second priority it will give to the SQL query, right? So this SQL query will execute after pre-SQL. This query result will load into the target table. We have tried select a distinct star from the source table. This query will select the distinct records and it will load distinct records. After loading the distinct records into the target table, now what we have to do? We have to check if the employee salary is less than or equal to 200. If it is less than 200, then we have to add 100, else we have to leave the same salary. For that, at the end of the execution, post SQL query will execute. So third is post SQL. Post SQL query, this property. Okay, at the end of the execution, go to the properties. This post SQL query will execute at the end of the execution. After loading all the records from source to target table, end of the execution post SQL query will execute. Okay, there we have tried update query to update the data in the target table. Update table name, set salary is equal to salary plus 100, where salary less than or equal to 20,000. Like that, if you write a update query, wherever salary less than or equal to, whatever the number here we have written 200, if that condition satisfies, it will add 100 to their current table. Okay, so let me show you this one quickly. So source and target tables are ready. Now we'll start creating the mapping. First, we'll import the source definition. Next, we'll go to the target designer. Select the target table, targets import from database, interconnect. Before, then mapping m underscore emp sq s4 t4 underscore load. Right, so this is our mapping name, and then click on OK. After that, drag and drop the source definition, drag and drop the target definition. Till here, you know, right? And then select all, connect like this. Then open the source qualifier, go to the properties. The first property here we have pre-SQL. Okay, so before loading the data in target table, we already have these two records. I don't want to have these records. So that is the reason I want to truncate the target table. So we have to write a query. Truncate table name. Like this, we have to write a query. Here you cannot validate. Only SQL query you can validate. Pre-SQL and post-SQL you cannot validate. Just write a query like this. Then click on OK. So this query will execute first. It will truncate the target. After truncating, next priority, it will go here and it will check whether the SQL query exists or not. So here we have to select the distinct records. So for that, so we can write a query like this. Select distinct star from the source table. This query will select the distinct records and it will load the distinct records into the target table. Okay, so in our source table, we have salary in thousands, 10,000, 20,000. So what I will do here, okay, so in post SQL, after loading the data from source to target table, we will write an update query. Update table, EMP, which table? Target table, SQ underscore T4. Okay, set salary is equal to salary plus 100 where, okay, salary less than or equal to 20,000. Wherever the salary is less than or equal to 20,000 in the target table, it will add 100 to their current salary. So if you want to update the data in a table, we have to write an update query like this. Update table name, we have to write set salary is equal to salary plus 100. Okay, so it will add 100 to their current salary if it is less than or equal to 20,000. Like that, we can write a query. That's it. Apply. Okay. Save. Now we'll create a session task. Right click, clear all tasks, create, and s underscore mapping name. We have to copy the mapping name. Go to the menu mappings, edit, copy. Then create S4 T4 load. Okay, done. And then workflow designer, workflows create, WF underscore mapping name, click on OK. Okay, and this is the session, drag and drop. That's it. With this, we have done with everything. Saved. Now it is ready to execute. So right click, start workflow. As soon as I click on start workflow, what changes we are expecting here? First, it should have to delete those records, two records, whatever the two records we have in our target table. Those two records should be truncated. Truncated means delete permanently. Next, it will select the distinct records from the source. Now we have total 8 records. Out of 8, only 4 distinct records are there. Only these 4 records will be loaded into the target table. After loading 4 records, and it should have updated the salary for those 4 records in the target table where salary less than or equal to 20,000. Now tell me for which records it will update the salary to the it will add the 100 to their current salary. For which records out of 4 records, how many records it will add 100 to their current salary?
4 records.
2 records.
Four
What are
records.
those records? What are those 2 records?
10 and 20.
10 and 20. So for this employee number 10 and 20 records, it will add the 100. So after execution, 10,100, 20,100 we will get. For 30 and 40,000 will have the same salary, right? Okay, now let's execute. Right click, start work. Started execution. It is running. So 2 records it will be deleted, 4 distinct records it has selected, 4 distinct records loaded, end of the execution, post SQL query executed, and it has updated. Now we have to see the data in the target table. If I execute the target table query here, we will get 4 records. Out of 4 records for 40 and 30, we do not have any change. and you can see for 10 and 20 it has updated 100, right? 10,100, 20,100, that's it. So three requirements we have implemented in a single scenario. First, to delete two records from this target table. Next, load the distinct record from source to target. Next, add 100 to their current salary if it is less than or equal to 20,000. Right? This is our fourth scenario to use those three properties inside the source qualifier. That's it. So that's all for the day. We will stop here today and then we will continue tomorrow. Today you practice these four scenarios, and if you have any doubts, you just let me know. So if you don't practice, it will be, pile up with the multiple scenarios. So last class 4 scenarios I have given, this class 4 scenarios, like that every day I'll be giving 4 or 5 scenarios to practice. So here I have shown you practically the same thing. I am asking you to do the practice. Okay, not the new things. If you are familiar, then in future classes I will show you, I will give some other homework. Okay, for now, whatever here I am showing you practically, same as it is, you have to create in your system. And as I told you, while practicing, do not watch the recording. You watch the recording first before you start practicing, once or twice. You understand what is the requirement, what we have to do, and then close the recording, start creating the map. Okay, that's it. Thanks. Thanks for
Sir,
that. We'll continue. Yes, go ahead.
sir, yesterday I tried my sample mapping, but workflow connections not working. Error, showing error.
Okay, and yeah, fine. So before that, as I mentioned in the last class also, if you have any doubts, you no need to wait to ask in the class. Okay, so before we start the next class, you should have to get it clarify all your doubts, right? And I have shared my number, WhatsApp number also I have shared, and I have asked you to contact. Okay, so if you have any doubts, immediately you take the screenshot and send it to me. You no need to wait, right? So you should have to complete on same day. Since you have not completed, now today's class would be a bit difficult to understand. So that is the reason from now onwards, if you have any doubt, you can take the screenshot, send me email, or you can drop the image in the WhatsApp, so that as soon as I check, I'll reply to you. Okay. Now you can share your screen, I will check.
Yeah.